Full house tonight, having just gathered to honor our wonderful sewing master, to thank her so much for all of her great offering to all of us. Thank you. So we have lots of people here tonight, and only one I don't know. Everybody else, welcome. Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I gave the first talk on the 8 awakenings of great beings that was offered by Dogen Zenji. And it was having few desires. So we explored what that referred to. Tonight, I'd like to talk about the second of the 8 awakenings, which is knowing how much is enough, knowing satisfaction, being free to feel satisfied. The Buddha said, "Monks, if you wish to be free of various pains and suffering, then you need to see clearly that you have enough. I think probably most of you already have recognized this and work with it. Having enough is a natural aspiration in a land where there is plenty. There's no end to the plenty. But what a concept, having enough. Not knowing when we have enough is a condition that supports endless dissatisfaction, which is dissatisfaction is one of the forms of that the First Noble Truth is pointing to, the truth of suffering. One of the ways that we can suffer, maybe most continuously, is with the feeling that there's not enough. We don't have enough. We haven't reached it yet. We haven't gotten there yet. It's all in the future. Our mantra every day can be more, more, more. And we never know satisfaction. We never know peace. When the mind of more, more, more is our constant companion, we can never be at peace. And when we come to no satisfaction, then we can be at peace no matter what. Even if the outer circumstances are very difficult, if we are awake to what is enough, we can have equanimity, which is kind of a neutral form of satisfaction, isn't it? Dissatisfaction is one of the sufferings. Raise your hand if you suffer with dissatisfaction 50% of the time. How about 80% of the time? How about 10% of the time? Yeah, so we have kind of an even distribution here. But it's really relevant. It's really relevant to know when we have enough, which brings us to a truth that is beyond measure. Because the whole notion of enough is all about measuring. What is enough and what falls short of enough? And measuring it's a concept. It's a feeling in the body, it's a feeling in the heart. We're always measuring. So, you know, a bowl of ice cream. I'm taking this from my own experiment with this, which is you take a spoonful of ice cream, and that first bite is incredible. It's beyond measure, the delight, right? It's like, oh, it usually stops everything. You put a spoonful in your mouth and you go, ah, and there's this sigh of, yes, this. And that might also happen in the second bite. But by the third, sometimes we get, the attention gets hijacked into something else that's going on. It could just be, should I have another bite? And then we get into the whole of choice. And by the end of the bowl, sometimes there's regret, sadness, or reaching for more. But the feeling of pleasure, which was enough in that first bite, is no longer present. So that tells us that we're dealing with a relative phenomenon, because it's changed. What was enough is no longer. The pleasure is no longer. And the pleasure diminished over the course of this initially wonderful experience. So our attention is always wandering away, even when one bite is enough, because actually the first bite could be enough. I mean, for myself, I recognize that. It's like the smell of coffee. That's enough. I don't really have to drink the cup. That tastes different than the smell. So this is always where this moment or this present experience is always complete. And recognizing completeness is the ingredient for the sense of enough. This is enough. Staying present in the details, complete in itself, is enough. So here's a comment by Dogen, which I thought was, I needed to stop and reflect a bit. Limiting how much to accept of the Dharma, and Dharma is phenomenon, all phenomenon. One has already received, the Dharma that one has already received, the thing that one has already received, limiting how much to accept of what we've already received is knowing that you have enough. In this moment, what have you already received? And actually, I want to pose that to the gathered. What have you already received in this moment? Anybody here received a body? Good ideas? Bad ideas? What else? Comfort. Fellowship.
Life.
A breath of air.
A breath of air. And then another breath of air.
And another.
Yeah. They keep on rolling in.
The sound of the robins. The sound of the robins.
Sound of the robin.
Sore back.
I'm sorry.
A sore back.
A sore back. Is that enough?
Plenty.
So, what we have received it's the truth of what we have received. You know, if we think about our life, it's beyond measure what we have received, and what we continue to receive in each moment is beyond measure. Mostly what we've received is conditioned things, That's what the mind goes to, because that's how we process conditioned things. And every conditioned thing is the truth. It's the relative truth. And when we talk about the relative, we talk about it's temporary, it's true in this moment, it's collectively arising with everything else. It has no absolute lasting thingness. So the relative truth is the samsara. It's the three realms of samsara. Samsara are desire, form, and formlessness. And they are all different levels of attachment and consciousness. Sometimes we are very aware of being filled with desire, of having a desire. We're usually aware of form, and we're often fascinated by formless because we're fascinated by our thoughts and concepts, which have no material form, but they certainly have powerful effects. So all things born out of desire are limited. All things socially set up, we all are formed in a social context. We are social, we're animals, we're social. And so we attune to what is true, what is expected, so that we can survive, first of all, and maybe thrive, maybe. So that's the relative truth that we live according to. But it's not permanent, and it's not in every circumstance. What may work in one social setting does not work in another. What may work at one time of our life won't work at another time of our life. The awareness of the impermanence of all form, of anything that we desire, of obtaining anything we desire, is all impermanent. So Dogen says, despite having to sleep on the ground, a person who knows when to be satisfied will find comfort and be at ease. Most of us have slept on the ground, I would think, either a little bit or a lot, and have found comfort and been at ease. Because sleeping on the ground in a campground on the earth can be very comfortable, although if we had that same characteristic in our bed at night, we might be very uncomfortable. I think when I came across this quote by Dogen, I thought of the time when the kids were little. I was one of the parents who went on an overnight to Amzi, and we were going to spend the night in the earthquake room. And the floors in Amzi are cement. And I thought, oh no, not only are there 50 kids, but it's a cement floor and it's going to be shaking. There's not going to be any sleep. It's going to be exhausting. I had this whole thing. I slept better than I have ever slept. I had the best night's sleep. So the sense that this was going to be very unsatisfactory was proved, it's proved wrong. It was highly satisfactory. And that suggested to me, that was kind of the beginning, or it was one example to me of how my mind could undermine my sense of satisfaction or ease, or it could allow me to be comfortable with a lot of things that were not my chosen thing. And that's one of the benefits of working with this particular knowing satisfaction prompt. As we go through every day, how satisfied here? Do I have to measure it, or can I really appreciate this, whatever the satisfaction is that this Dharma is offering? Dharma is infinite. All phenomena are infinitely coming forward all the time. Can it be enough? Can we recognize how complete it is and relax into it, even if it brings with it difficulties, practical difficulties? So how much is enough is a value judgment. How right is this? How okay is this? That's a value judgment. It's a measurement. Am I satisfying my desires, or does this fall short? This is also relevant when dealing with the inner critic, or the judgment mind, the critical mind. Something does not suit, it doesn't quite meet my standards. Then I know I'm not satisfied. The mind is tricking me into suffering. So, what is the context for all this? What's important about this? The spiritual life, the context is the spiritual life, and in Buddhism we call it the great matter of life and death. That's really what we are penetrating. We're coming to intimate understanding about the great matter of life and death. What is this life? What is the meaning of this life? What is the meaning of my life? All of these questions. And we each tend to focus on one or another aspect of it, depending on our time of life and just our concern. Even if we live our entire life following our desires and have found meaning, when it comes time to die, what is that actually, how is that going to help? How is that going to help? This is really up for me, and maybe for some of you, because I have a friend now who's in the process of dying, who's lived a very full and good life, and is really having a hard time. Really having a hard time, even with practice. So I thank him. Because if I have any idealism left in me, this challenges it. And if Zen practice is anything, it challenges our idealization of anything. Our belief that anything is fixed in a certain way. That we're going to, we project into the future, we're going to have this experience, we're going to have that experience. So letting go of the suffering involved in dying is intense, more so for some than others, depending on how intensely you tend to be anyway. If you die when you're young, it's probably more intense. If you die when you're older, it's less intense because you haven't had that much energy to be intense for a while. But it varies depending on who you are. But it's letting go in a way that is way more profound than anything else we've ever let go of. We have no experience with it, especially if we haven't had a practice. If we've had a practice, we confront this experience every time we sit down in Zazen. How many years have I sat on the cushion and kind of daydreamed and thought about stuff and complained about the pain in my hip or the pain in my knee? And that actually comprises a lot of the time we spend on the cushion. But at a certain point, we also recognize that this is an opportunity so well supported by conditions to stop being involved in all that and to really take a direct look at what this moment is, what this momentary experience is made up of. And even that, at times, gets really quiet. And there's a profound sense of peace. You know, the Christians call it the peace that passeth all understanding. That's a not an unusual experience at a certain point in meditation. Or just in the midst of life, sometimes it happens spontaneously. You've probably heard me say that Ekta Roshi always said that an experience like that is an accident, but Dharma practice makes us accident prone. And I think that that's true. I think that's true. It's like good trouble, good accident, good accident. So all of the, everything that we've always done has been, or we've always experienced, has had this subliminal river flowing through it of flow, of going somewhere, of something coming up. It's subliminal, it's usually out of our direct awareness, but if you think about it, you take it for granted. But during dying, I don't know, is that there? Or is that one more thing that we are really experiencing, going somewhere, not being there anymore? The senses start to disorganize and disarray. The mind disarrays, the sense of time disarrays. Everything that we've plugged in as me is completely out of control. And there is not an uncommon experience in meditation, in deep meditation practice, of a tremendous panic setting in when everything drops away, just before everything drops away. It's noted often that before people die, they become very restless. It's one of the things that happens just before death, restlessness. You might also know that's for yourself in sesshin. There can be profound restlessness that sets in before you drop into a more complete state of relaxing body, relaxing breath, relaxing mind. It's nothing you do, it's natural. And dying is natural. So if you've had some direct experience, then we're more prepared. This is not completely unfamiliar. It's not completely unfamiliar. And I don't know, is it knowing satisfaction? In a certain way, the sense of feeling satisfied is a sense of no longer opposing the current moment. It's a form of the intimacy that we also will, or the condition that we also will find ourselves in at death. No longer being in opposition, no longer fighting it. And there is often a choice. I mean, depending on how you die. If it's a sudden event, then it's not that. But if it's slow, the tale is often told that when you finally say to somebody, it's okay to die, it's okay to go. It's okay to go. They've been hanging around because they don't want you to. They're worried about somebody. They don't want you to be bereft or whatever it is. they receive permission, and then they can let go. So there's an aspect of that in our practice too. How willing are you to relax in Zazen completely and relinquish all of your ideas, all of your thoughts? Let go of the sensations by fully experiencing them. Let go of the opposition. Move. Joanna Macy, who is now in hospice, by the way, if you follow her, it's wonderful. I think she's 94, 95. A wonderful human being and teacher and leader. She said, "You are not a separate being. You belong to the living body of Earth. You are the Earth, looking up at the stars. You are the Earth becoming conscious of itself." It's a very, very open, relaxed view. We can't know that unless we relax and relinquish. So the quality of our mind and heart helps us in being an ordinary human being when we face any shock or change. And a lot of us, collectively, of course, in the world, we're going through huge transition now, and in our lives. If we are familiar with this transition to really letting go and allowing, not being in opposition, then even when things are very extreme, we can remember not to be in opposition, but to fully experience it and be guided by the experience in some way that we can't know in advance. Knowing satisfaction, knowing that when we have enough directly, is related to cause and effect. So if we are accustomed to maintaining our awareness to our immediate circumstances, then we know for ourselves intimately, we don't have to think about it, and that our life is only ever one step after another. If each step is complete, then we're free to take the next step. If we have a conventional notion of death, then we're strangers to our life. If we are intimate in our life, then we recognize the characteristic of dying in every moment, the temporariness of every moment, and come to trust that, come to trust our own experience. Did you really know, do you really know that actually you are going to die? I think I really know, but I don't know. It sure doesn't seem that way. I don't behave like I am, and I shouldn't. Because while we're alive, we are of life. So any religion or spiritual path really admits into our world, our heart, our experience, life and death. As a culture, we don't. Not personal. We act it out in violent ways, but we don't really have we have so much technology to keep life and death away from our direct viewing. So living with an awareness of the absolute fact of death is living on the base of truth. That's a Uchiyama statement. So simple and direct. Living with awareness of the absolute fact of death is living on the base of truth. He calls this good. And then he says, that which is not in accord with this absolute fact, we call evil. You know, I was so struck when I read that. And because I've been thinking about so much of what's being done in the world seems to me quite evil. And it's true, it's evil because it does not accord with recognizing the absolute truth of death. It doesn't own it personally. Contemplating this basis for the primal fact of life, that it leads to death, leads us to an unavoidable truth. We only live out our own life, and it's up to us how we want to do it and what the basis for it will be. Will it be this complete truth that includes the whole story, the whole thing? If we don't wake up to who we are as complete with all of this, we're bound to a social sense of identity. I am who the world tells me I am, and how I am is how I'm told I am. All the relative concepts of good and bad, and worthy and unworthy, and lovable and unlovable, and useful and useless, wholly human and not quite human. They limit us in what is not actual truth. When we see our conditioned social situation and the nature of it for what it is, we go beyond. We go beyond it, always going beyond it. We chant gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, hail Buddha, yay Buddha. We're always going beyond this moment, these conditions, this completeness. We're always within the complete. Dogen says, knowing how much to accept of the Dharma one has already received is knowing one has enough. There's so many consequences to awakening in this way. Being joyful, being magnanimous, at the ready to help with whenever and however it's needed. We have that ability when we know ourselves to have enough. We come into a friendly relationship with other beings because we have enough. Each complete moment is enough. And even when we feel jealousy or desire, like we know the nature of these emotions as we come to do in our practice, the relative nature of it, we know the fullness of having enough, even so, no matter what the conditions are. And I have certainly said enough words about this, but I hope that that this kind of inspires this very simple reflection as you go through your days of how this is enough. living according to this is enough really changes, it has for me, changed a lot of my habits. But certainly the character of mind and heart. So please practice with this, and with the ancestors, know that no satisfaction for yourself. Know that you have enough, that you are enough.